The Boeing FA-18EF Super Hornet is a beast of a fighter jet, and its technical features are impressive. But what really defines its combat power is its weapons. The game changer for this aircraft is the AIM-174B missile, a next-level weapon that brings incredible range and pinpoint accuracy. But with newer jets like the F-35 and other advanced aircraft out there, can the Super Hornet still rule the skies? Let's dive into the story of how this fighter came to be, its evolution, and what makes it such a powerhouse today. The roots of the FA-18 go back to the 1960s, a time when the US military was rethinking its approach to air combat. In May 1964, Air Force Major John Boyd and mathematician Thomas Christie came up with the energy maneuverability theory. This was a big deal, because it gave a new way to measure how well a fighter jet could perform in a dogfight. Their idea was simple. Bulky, heavy aircraft were outdated. The future belonged to lighter, faster, and more agile planes that could balance speed, lift, and maneuverability without breaking the bank. By the late 1960s, Boyd had gathered a group of engineers and designers who became known as the Fighter Mafia. They were passionate about building a new kind of fighter, light, powerful, and affordable. Their arguments were so convincing that in 1969 the US Department of Defense gave them funding to explore designs based on Boyd's theory. This led to the Lightweight Fighter (LWF) program, which aimed to create a new generation of combat aircraft. By 1972, two prototypes stood out: General Dynamics' single-engine YF-16 and Northrop's twin-engine YF-17. The LWF program evolved into the Air Combat Fighter program by 1974 to meet the changing needs of NATO allies. Pilots loved the YF-16 for its agility, and in January 1975, it won the ACF competition. General Dynamics got the contract to build the F-16 Fighting Falcon. But the YF-17 wasn't out of the game. The US Navy took a close look at it because the F-16's single engine and narrow landing gear made it tricky to adapt for aircraft carriers. The Navy needed something tougher for their operations at sea. In May 1975, the Navy picked the YF-17 and teamed up with McDonnell Douglas and Northrop to turn it into a new fighter jet. 2 years later, in 1977, the Navy named it the F-18 Hornet, following their tradition of naming aircraft after insects to symbolize fighting spirit. The name also paid tribute to historic Navy ships like the USS Hornet from the Revolutionary War and World War II. The F-18 was a major redesign of the YF-17 to handle the rough life of carrier operations. Engineers strengthened the airframe, landing gear and tailhook, added folding wings and expanded the fuel capacity by 4,460 pounds to extend its range. They also widened the landing gear for better stability and swapped out the YF-17's control system for a fully digital fly-by-wire system with quadruple redundancy for safety. All these changes made the F-18 heavier, about 10,000 pounds more, bringing its total weight to around 37,000 pounds. The Navy planned to buy 780 F-18s in 3 versions: the single-seat F-18A fighter, the A-18A attack aircraft, and the 2-seat TF-18A trainer, which could still fight like the single-seat version, but carried less fuel. By 1980, engineers combined the attack and fighter roles into one aircraft, the F/A-18A. In 1984, the Navy officially named the 2-seat version the F/A-18B. By the 1990s, the Navy needed to replace its aging Grumman A-6 Intruder and Ling Temco Vought A-7 Corsair II aircraft. But no direct replacement was in development, so they decided to upgrade the F-18 into something bigger and better: the FA-18EF Super Hornet. This wasn't just a tweak, it was practically a new aircraft. Entering service in 1999, the Super Hornet was 20% larger, 7,000 pounds heavier when empty, and 15,000 pounds heavier at maximum weight. It carried 33% more fuel, boosting its range by 41% and endurance by 50% compared to the original Hornet. Because it was so much heavier, the Super Hornet needed new ejection and braking systems for safe carrier landings. To avoid confusion with the older Hornet over radio calls, the Navy nicknamed it the Rhino, partly because of its distinctive APX-111 antenna. The fuselage was stretched by 34 inches to make room for more fuel and future upgrades, and the wing area grew by 25% for better lift. Engineers also simplified the design, cutting structural parts by 42% compared to the original. The Super Hornet's General Electric F-414 engines, an upgrade from the F-404, delivered 35% more thrust, reaching 22,000 pounds in afterburner mode. This extra power combined with efficient fuel use let the Super Hornet return to carriers with up to 9,000 pounds of unused fuel and weapons, a capability called Bring Back. Unlike stealth-focused jets like the F-22 Raptor or F-35 Lightning II, the Super Hornet doesn't rely on being invisible to radar. Instead, it uses advanced electronic warfare systems, a reduced radar signature, and long-range weapons to stay safe and effective. Its airframe is built with an open mission systems architecture, making it easy to integrate new weapons and tech as they come along, much like the F-35's Block upgrades. Starting in 2005, Block 2 Super Hornets got a major avionics upgrade with the APG-79 Active Electronically Scanned Array (AESA) radar. This radar can track air and ground targets at the same time, map terrain with high resolution, and detect small or distant threats, including enemy missiles. Between 2007 and 2008, the Navy added the Joint Helmet-Mounted Cueing System, JHMCS, which gives pilots better situational awareness and lets them aim missiles without pointing the jet directly at the target. The Shared Reconnaissance Pod, SHARP, also came online, offering high-resolution day, night, and all-weather imaging. The communication system was upgraded with the Mid-S JTRS, boosting data transfer speeds tenfold and ensuring compatibility with modern radio standards. In 2021, Block 3 upgrades brought even more improvements. A 10 by 18-inch touchscreen display replaced older screens, and the jet got faster processors and better targeting networks. There were also plans to add the AAQ-28V Lightning targeting pod for better laser designation, and the ASG-34V IRS-21 infrared sensor for passive detection, mounted in a modified external fuel tank. But let's talk about the real teeth of the Super Hornet, its weapons. For close-range fights, it carries a 20mm M61A2 Vulcan cannon that fires up to 6,000 rounds per minute, perfect for dogfights or hitting lightly armored ground targets. With 11 hardpoints and a payload capacity of 17,750 pounds, the Super Hornet's arsenal is massive. It can carry AIM-9 Sidewinder missiles for short-range air combat, AIM-120 AMRAAMs for beyond visual range targets, and AIM-7 Sparrows for tricky radio frequency environments. For ground and sea targets, it has AGM-65 Maverick missiles for armored targets, AGM-84 Harpoons for ships, and AGM-88 HARM missiles to take out enemy radar and air defenses. The jet can also drop AGM-154 Joint Standoff Weapon glide bombs, AGM-158 JASSM stealth cruise missiles and JDAM bombs, plus laser-guided paveway bombs, unguided Mk-80 bombs, Mk-20 cluster bombs, and naval mines. The Navy is also adding the Joint Strike Missile, JSM, originally designed for the F-35 and the AIM-260 JTM to replace the AIM-120, but the star of the show is the AIM-174B missile, first spotted on a Super Hornet in 2018. Derived from the SM-6, this missile is built to counter long-range threats like ballistic and hypersonic missiles, especially in scenarios like defending Taiwan from China's anti-access strategies. Paired with early warning systems like the E-2D Hawkeye, the AIM-174B lets the Super Hornet tackle tough maneuvering targets that challenge even the best missile defenses. With this kind of firepower and adaptability, the Super Hornet remains a critical asset for the U.S. Navy. Its ability to evolve with new tech and weapons like the AIM-174B ensures it can handle modern threats and stay in service for years to come. Whether it's taking on enemy fighters, striking ground targets, or protecting naval fleets, the Super Hornet proves it's more than just a jet. It's a versatile, battle-ready machine.